Well, our guest today, of course, needs no introduction, but we must acknowledge his outstanding achievements of his wonderful career. He captained West Coast to the 2006 AFL Premiership. He won 2 Brownlow medals in 2004 and 2010, and claimed the Norm Smith medal in the Eagles grand final loss in 2005. His peers voted him their best player on 2 occasions. He's a 6-time All-Australian, 5-time Club Best and Fairest winner. Of course, we've gone all day listing his achievements, but you want to hear from him, not me, so please make welcome the great Chris Judd. Welcome to Hobart, Juddy.
Thanks for having me.
Have you been here much before?
A lot. I think I've been to Hobart once, been to Launceston quite a few times, but I don't understand Launceston is a bit of dirty word in Hobart, so I won't mention it too often.
Your words, not mine, but first of all, how's the hands, mate? Because this is your last stop of the book tour. It must be pretty sore. You would have signed a few copies over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it's been good. It's gone really well. It's been nice to meet and mix with a lot of Carlton fans and West Coast fans. And it sort of feels like a bit of a genuine full stop on the footy career. So it's been a good 2 weeks.
I guess a lot of players do write books at the end of their career now. Is that something you always had in the back of your mind?
No, it wasn't. If it was, I would have been keeping notes about my footy career, which would have made the process a lot easier. But I got approached by Alan and Unwin about 2 years ago, and hadn't thought about writing a book before, and just got thinking about it, and got thinking about the type of book that I thought I'd potentially find interesting to write, and I hope that some people would find it interesting to read. So in the end, decided to take the plunge, and really happy now I've got a record that I guess my kids can look at, and I guess something that's documented all the things I learned in 14 years playing AFL.
Let's go back to the start. You played a bit of footy as a kid, but it was mostly athletics, I guess, for you, and you're a star at that as well. And your parents, I think your dad played a bit of footy, but your mum was a pretty good sportswoman herself. How did you get serious about footy in the end, I guess?
It was just always something I loved doing. Probably when I was at my happiest as a kid was when I was playing footy with mates. So it was just something I was naturally drawn to, and probably didn't take it overly serious until I was about 15. Probably when I was 15, I went to a national carnival up in Cairns, and from the age of about 16, was really serious about trying to make that a career.
Oh, no, I've read the book, it's fantastic. At the start you mentioned that it was sort of a split thing for you growing up, because a lot of your mates didn't like footy, so you're at footy training and you go and sort of skateboard with them, and they weren't really into footy. Yeah,
it was a sort of a good mix. Still a lot of the mates I grew up with now have never kicked a football in their life, and you get so much exposure to footy when you're a professional athlete, but to have people in your life who have no interest in it becomes really refreshing and really important for you, so you can have a break from it. One of the things I found when I was in Perth was that I was playing for West Coast, and then everyone I was knocking around with outside of footy was connected to the club in some form or another. It was just very hard to feel like you had any sort of life outside of the footy club, and for me, I always just felt like I needed to have some other interests and some other things going on. So that was one of the benefits of moving back to Melbourne as well.
A Melbourne supporter growing up, what was that?
Well, my old man was a Sydney supporter, so I used to watch a bit of them, and when I was about 3, I was aware we lived in Melbourne, so I sort of thought that should be the team I support. That sort of made rational sense, even though St Kilda was probably the local team, but ended up supporting Melbourne.
You could spend all day going through your junior career, I suppose, so let's jump straight to the draft. It must have been a nerve-wracking time for you.
It was an interesting time. The main thing I was really excited about trying to become an AFL player. I was also excited just finished school, was excited about knocking around with mates and going to pubs for the first time and doing all sorts of things that 18-year-olds do. So I was pretty keen to stay in Melbourne. But in the end, West Coast had pick 3 and made it pretty clear they were going to pick me. So I briefly tried to tell them that I'd be back after 2 years, and there was no point in picking you. They called my bluff, and the rest is history. But certainly really feel really lucky that I got drafted to such a strong footy club, and obviously was able to achieve the ultimate success in 2006.
Very good interest in the book too. St Kilda had pick 2 that year, and Grant Thomas had a chat to him, and you thought you were a bit arrogant.
Grant asked me what I thought of St Kilda, and I said I don't think they've been a very successful club. Which having been one flag in 100 odd years, I thought it was a fair comment. But I don't know if Grant appreciated being told that by an 18-year-old. And I think Saints thought they could probably get pick number 5. So they picked 2 and picked 5. And one of the things that clubs do when they talk to young drafters is they ask you who your favourite player is, under the belief that you'll one day sort of turn into something similar to the players that you admire. And my answer used to chop and change a bit. I didn't sort of have one player that I loved. Sometimes I said Tony Lockett, or when Fremantle interviewed me, I'd just been spoken to at school by a guy called Rupert Bathiris, who played about 40 games for Collingwood. He was a bit one pace, and he went to my school, and for some reason I liked his speech, and they said, "Who's your favourite player?" I said, "Rupert Bathiris." And the Freo guys were like, "Ooh." So apparently Freo weren't going to take me to pick 4, and I'm not sure if it was purely because of the Rupert Bathiris comment, but I think it might have had something to do with it. So if West Coast didn't take me, I think Freo were going to take Barry Brooks, who was a King Island local, if some of you may remember, and I would have gone to St Kilda and pick 5.
What was it like going to Western Australia, I guess? Did you know many people over there, or was it a whole new beginning for you, I suppose? Yeah,
I'd never been there before in my life, so I remember being picked up by Andy Lovell, the development manager, at the airport, and I sort of thought Perth would be exactly like Melbourne, just with more sun and better beaches, and picked up the airport and we drove about half an hour, and I said, "So where's the epicentre of the city? Where's like the Flinders Street station?" And he said, "Oh, we just drove through it." I said, so it was very much a big country town back then, and it's been built up a lot now, and there's plenty more to do. But yeah, it was certainly very different to living in Melbourne.
Played one waffle game for East Perth. That was it for the whole time in WA.
That was enough.
It's amazing, really. You didn't have to again, those days. You see a lot of people.
Yeah, I didn't like the waffle, Brent. We experimented with that in round 1, and then we moved on. So that was it.
The standard in training would have lifted enormously for you, I guess, once you got there. But you think it's a gift to be able to train and work hard, don't you? Or is that the book too? It's a really good point.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I mentioned in the book. So often at an AFL level, when someone does something wrong, they get prescribed extra training from the club, which sends a really bad message about what training is. Extra training shouldn't be a punishment. If you're ambitious and competitive, and not being able to do extra training is really the punishment. And that was always how I felt, but always how a lot of the young players felt at West Coast. I remember if a group of us had to do an AFL induction thing, or we'd miss a training session, we'd sort of look at each other and feel sick and make sure we made that training session up and more. And so, I think having players that aren't training to please the coach, but are training because they genuinely want to get better, is very important to team success.
You struck up a friendship with Daniel Kerr pretty early on. You lived with him. He was a best man or groomsman at your wedding, I think. How's he going today, and do you keep in touch with him pretty regularly?
I keep in touch with him a bit, but he certainly struggled with the transition from being a footballer to being a person, I guess. So you just hope for the best, hope he gets through it. But yeah, we were certainly really close when we were playing. We went to Ireland together as 16-year-olds, and I lived with him for a year, which was good fun. But I quickly read the writing on the wall. It probably wasn't going to be the best place for me to live long term. But he's lots of fun. He's a great bloke and got a really good family. So that was some good times.
Your debut for the Eagles, round 2 at the MCG, I think, against the Pies. Do you remember much about that day? Is it a bit of a blur now?
I remember bits and pieces. I remember being really excited that it was at the MCG. I used to go there a lot as a kid, so being able to make my debut at somewhere that felt familiar was felt important. And I just remember feeling that, I have sort of little images that stick in my mind. I got tackled by Nathan Buckley, and he got me to the ground. But I remember thinking, he's just a normal, strong man. He wasn't sort of superhuman. I didn't break my shoulder when he threw me in the ground or anything like that. And I think, certainly as the game wore on, it began to become pretty clear that the guys I was playing against now in a Collingwood jumper were no fitter or stronger than the guys I've been training against in a West Coast training jumper. And that, I felt pretty comfortable that I could play at that level.
And you exploded onto the scene too, I guess, your first couple of years. Were you surprised how quickly you developed, I guess, into an elite player?
Just never thought to myself how long is it going to take to become a good AFL player. I just remember breaking down all the sort of fitness tests that we do at West Coast, things like the beep test and the 20 metre and the jump test and the leg press, and I just remember trying to win all those tests, and I think I was in the top 3 all of them by my 3rd year, bar the bench press, which I couldn't do because of the shoulders, and wouldn't have been any good at anyone. So I think it's important if you're not good at tests to just not do them, and then it keeps your averages up. But yeah, I just always broke it down into things that I could really measure, things that were tangible, and really work really hard to get to them, and let sort of the on-field stuff take care of itself.
As I mentioned, you burst onto the scene. You won the Brownlow medal in 2004, but that's remembered too for Bex dress, your wife, or your then girlfriend. What are your memories of that night too with the red dress, I guess?
Yeah, I didn't have much involvement in choosing the dress, but I obviously just remember walking in the room and wondering why she was only wearing half a dress. A pretty successful year that year. I thought we could afford to buy a full dress. Yeah, look, I was pretty happy. You know, she looked great. I didn't sort of think there would be any ongoing implications for it that we'd be talking about it. What was it? 10 years later, longer, whatever. But yeah, look, it was just one of those things. Footy's very much a soap opera these days, and you've got the tragedy is an injury, or the scandal is when someone gets in a punch up off the field, or the Carlton incident, or then you've got the romance and that sort of Brownlow night. So that's only really been going for 12, 14 years. Before that, you didn't have such a huge amount of content. You had the content being what happened on game day. You didn't have this huge explosion of content all surrounding footy. So Beck's dress sort of coincided with that content explosion in AFL, and hence why we're still talking about it.
Obviously a very accomplished speaker now, but back then you weren't too keen on winning the Brownlow that night for that reason. You didn't want to get up and speak in front of a big audience at the Crown Palladium. Yeah,
I knew sort of 3 rounds out that I was going to win, or at least be equal winner, but someone had to get... I think with 2 rounds to go, I knew I was going to win. And I remember just the overarching thought was one of sort of embarrassment, because I'd just turned 21, so I was still really a kid, and I was just thinking about past winners and people like Buckley and Boss and Hurd and all the great players, and at that age just felt really uncomfortable being mentioned in the same breath as them. And then also looked around the room and thought, wow, there's 1,500 people here, I'm not all that. Well, I'm pretty pissed. And I'm not all that keen to get up and make a speech in front of it. So it's funny what thoughts go through your head, and when I was about to win my second Brownlow, for a split second the same sort of thoughts came creeping in. At that age I was straight away up and just sort of whack them away and say, no, this is a bloody good thing.
I guess the next major thing at West Coast was the 05 grand final loss, and I guess that Leo Barry mark still gives you nightmares at night.
It does, but I think the fact that West Coast got 1 and Sydney got 1, it feels like a really just result for such an even competition over, I think it was 7 games by under 11 points or whatever it was. There was such a intense rivalry that I think the fact that both clubs walked away with 1 each was a pretty fair result.
You won the Norm Smith in a losing team. A few people have done that, but that must be one of the strangest feelings you can have in footy, I suppose.
Yeah, look, it just didn't feel like anything. But I, like everyone else, was just incredibly disappointed. I think the only thing that changes, not just if you win a Norm Smith, but if you play well in a losing grand final, you're just as disappointed as all your other teammates, but you don't carry that same level of embarrassment that you do when you played really badly. I know that blokes that play really badly, not just in a grand final, but in that last game of the year in a final, when the stakes are high, your disappointment's the same as your teammates that have contributed, but there's also this embarrassment that weighs on you for the next 6 months. So I didn't have to deal with that like some of the guys did, but was certainly bitterly disappointed, but also felt that it was just going to be a speed hump and it was only going to be a matter of time before West Coast was able to win one.
I guess after that grand final at the start of 2006, that's when Ben Cousins hit a bit of trouble, I guess, and in the book you say you think it's grossly unfair that you will be remembered as a drug addict. Yeah,
well, I just think whoever you are, there's a lot more depth to people than what the media are able to give to them, and that's not a criticism on the media, that's just understanding that when you've got a newspaper article to write, you've got 800 words which you're allowed to use, and to try and capture every characteristic of the person in 800 words is impossible, and the same goes for a 3-minute news story, or a 30-second news story. So, you know, I felt through the book I was able to show a little bit more colour on Ben, and not to acknowledge that he didn't make plenty of mistakes, but to acknowledge that there were plenty of things he did really well. And, you know, probably everyone in this room would know someone who's a drug addict or an alcoholic, and, you know, to say that that's the only thing they've ever done in their life is probably grossly unfair.
And you recently spoke to him and he's doing quite well?
He's going really well at the minute, so, you know, I hope his good health continues. But yeah, he certainly faces, you know, some really serious challenges too.
And I guess Ben's issues almost forced you into the captaincy at West Coast, and it wasn't something you were quite ready for or wanted to do?
No, I was 22, so it's probably still a bit early. And, you know, I was caught in the middle of still wanting to support Ben, as were the other players, because he was our captain, but also beginning to acknowledge that it was probably untenable for him to continue. And yeah, look, I remember those times with Ben, and probably feel a bit embarrassed now that my main emotion when Ben was going through his troubles was that this is inconvenient for our club and this is inconvenient for me. But you see the toll that you know, his drug addiction's had on both him and his family, and you realise that you know, there are much greater issues than football at play.
You went on to win the premiership that year as skipper. I'm assuming that's your greatest memory and highlight in your career?
Yeah, that sort of dwarfs everything else that happened on a football field. That was incredibly a very special day, and you know, the culmination of a lot of years of hard work. It really felt that flag was won in 2004 when West Coast won 9 of their last 11 games, and we put some systems in place that we used you know, up until 07 when I left. And yeah, we'd obviously just lost the year before, so to have that dream come true, and felt like a bit of a relief that no matter what happened from there in my footy career, I was going to be a premiership player, which is what I always wanted to be.
You were criticised a bit for not looking excited enough when you held the cup up. Was that fair enough or not?
People always, whatever their opinion is fair enough to them. I remember I got criticised for not being excited enough, Ben got criticised for being too excited, so there's some sort of happy medium like in the Teddy Bear's picnic where you had to be. But no, look, I just felt exhausted. I mean, everyone reacts differently to an event like that. I'd had my shoulder sort of popping in and out for the last 45 minutes, as Adam Goods almost won the game for Sydney. So for me, I just felt complete relief and exhaustion, but had no desire to jump around or carry on. Whereas, you know, someone like a Coxie, he was carrying on and jumping around for a week. So yeah, everyone reacts differently to those things, but yeah, the main thing is what it means to you, and it was an incredibly special event. And
it sunk in a few weeks later when you're sitting at home on the couch, wasn't it, watching telly?
Yeah, my sort of elation came about a week later. I was back at the folks' house in Sandringham. I had a shoulder recon a couple of days earlier, but yeah, I was just sitting there and was just all of a sudden really elated with what we'd achieved, and it wasn't until then that the stress of it all had gone, and I could really just bask in the glory of it all.
10-year premiership reunion next year, one hell of a party, won't it?
Well, you'd be surprised, probably won't be. It's going to be interesting how it all pans out, and who comes and who doesn't. You know, I'm sort of not even on top of who's got disagreements going on with who, but I would hope everyone's able to get there and have a good time. But I suspect it'll actually be pretty low key for, you know, out of respect to the suffering that some people are going through. So really looking forward to that, looking forward to catching up with a lot of the guys, particularly guys that you don't keep in contact with but who you really like. So at footy clubs you've got, you know, whatever, you've 5 or 6 guys that even when you leave you're still close to and you speak to regularly, but there's still a whole number of guys who you really like, but you just, you know, you've gone your separate ways, and that would be the same for any job. So to be able to catch up with some of those guys, it should be a lot of fun.
And it was a tough time for you at West too, I guess, with all that going on. Also, you witnessed someone take their own life, and you also had a stalker for a little while, so it wasn't rosy, was it, over there? Yeah, there was some bits and bobs in there. The stalker one was an interesting one. I had a young woman follow me home from training, so she knew where I lived. Then she went to my bin and got my phone bill, so she knew my phone number. But she just sort of texted me, you know, 100 times a day, all good stuff.
and then would take sort of pictures inside my back garden and then put the picture in the letterbox and move things around the back garden. She even moved like my number plate off my car and swapped it with one of Beck's number plates. And I saw this, I just couldn't be bothered changing it, so I was just driving around with mismatching number plates for about 3 months until I got a speeding ticket and the police were like, what the hell's going on with your car? So I had to get around to changing them back. But that was an adventure. Yeah, I think she got some soiled undies at one stage, which would have been pretty exciting for her. But yeah, eventually I just bought the house off an ex-copper, and I was just happy to ignore it for a fair while, and then it was just getting a bit creepy. So I just, because I had a number obviously from all the texts, I said, look, this is the number of this person who's been a bit of a punisher. Can you go around and do what you do? So he went around there and he said just how all the women in jail are going to love having such a young woman in there to make the most of. And I think I never had any troubles after that. So he asked if I wanted to press charges, and I had no interest in that. But after their little chat, I didn't have any more episodes.
And just before we leave the West Coast stuff, I guess in the book too, you said it feels like such a long time ago. It almost belongs to another football, that part of your career.
It does. And I guess that's just with everyone. What was it? It's almost 8 years since I was at West Coast, and so many things have happened in that time. I've had kids, and now retired, and even football full stop. It almost feels like I haven't played football for 3 or 4 years. It feels like the world moves that quickly. So yeah, I just find it hard to relate to the mindset I had, particularly towards footy at that age now, because I've got a different outlook on life. But at my early 20s, just everything was so obsessively driven around football, and it was great. And myself along with the other guys were able to get some great results doing that. So I couldn't imagine living like that anymore.
At the end of the 07 season, it was time to come home. Was it a hard decision for you, or you did know before you drafted that you were going to come home eventually, I guess, so it was in the back of your mind?
It was still a hard decision, but when you weigh up the importance of things in your outside football life and things inside football, wanting to start a family one day in Melbourne, wanting to live in Melbourne after footy and potentially set up the sort of work I'll be doing, those sort of life decisions are essentially going to last so much longer than your footy career that they have to outweigh it in importance. So it was a tough decision, but one I'm really glad I made. I've been asked a bit this week if I regret coming to Carlton because we weren't able to achieve success over that period. And once you join a club, it really becomes like part of your family. And whilst everyone at the club would have loved to have had some success through that time, I'm still really proud to have been a Carlton player and a Carlton captain, and I'm really happy with my choice.
And you really found out who your friends were when you left the Eagles, I guess, and even Trevor Nisbet wasn't too happy, the CEO, and you got abused even in the streets from some people? Yeah,
that's just sort of part of the course. But it is good to find out which people like you because of who you are, and which people just like you because you can serve their footy club. And you only really, you sort of know who those people are anyway, but you certainly get it confirmed when you leave their footy club and you're no longer of use to them commercially. So that was unsurprising, but also does really give you clarity on, as I said, which people like you for you.
Essendon, Melbourne, Collingwood and Carlton were the 4 clubs that you were interested in going to, but you settled on the Blues. Was that an easy decision for you in the end?
No, it was a hard one. It sort of came down to Collingwood and Carlton in the end. But I really just saw with Carlton a really good young list. I mean, certainly had just incredible access to draft talent. And not just with the 3 number ones, but when you get a number 1 pick, your second pick in that year's pick 17 then, or pick 19 now, which is still a really early draft pick. Anything in the top 20 I consider a really early draft pick. So we had huge access to them. And yeah, I thought together with that young list we would be able to build some success. Now that's obviously not how it panned out. But the thought of being a part of something from the ground up and not just jumping on the coattails of the hard work done by others was one of the main appeals to joining Carlton.
And the trade, I think West Coast got 3, 20 and and Big Josh Kennedy, and Carlton got you in pick 46, I think. So who was the winner?
Well, probably West Coast. Yeah, look, probably West Coast. I mean, Josh is a great player, and he's going to be playing for a fair while. Chris Maston's a pretty handy player.
Tony Knott, I think was.
Tony Knott didn't make it, and I guess I should pump up Dennis Armfield so that makes our trade better. But yeah, look, I think what both clubs did get is players who really put in. I don't. People ask about disloyalty, disloyal if you get drafted to a club and then leave, and my opinion is that the ones that really let your club down are draft picks that come to your club and goof off and don't work hard and then leave when you get nothing. I think if you bring people into your club and they give you everything they've got, then you can't be upset with that. And from my perspective, I certainly feel that I did that at Carlton.
When you first arrived there, I read with interest too that you thought the players were more interested in how many Twitter followers they had and getting into nightclubs for free, and you were a bit surprised by all that?
Your success was just such a distant pipe dream when I got there. Blues had been, I think, last almost 3 years running. And when you're, underperforming so consistently like that, the thought of finals, let alone premiership success, just seems sort of ridiculous. So people don't dream any further than getting a new contract, and if you're ambitious in a system like that, your dream is to get a bigger contract. And that was, culturally something the club was battling with, and probably didn't recognise the importance of bringing in people that were naturally ambitious and competitive to try and change that culture. I think, a lot of people at Carlton will talk about who the clubs are with great culture, but there wasn't this sentiment that the reason they had good cultures is because they were really particular about the type of people they brought into that system. So it's a lot harder to change someone than it is to just nurture someone who's naturally ambitious and competitive. And that's been noted for about 3 years now, and there has really been a big focus to change that. And you see guys like Paddy Cripps and Nick Graham, some of the young guys come in that do have those attributes, which I think everyone would realise is incredibly important.
And you went on to play what you described as your proudest year of footy in 2008. You won a best and fairest in your first year at Carlton.
Yeah, well, just certainly asked the most of me that first year, coming across from West Coast to Carlton. I did one main training session before round one that year due to the groin surgery I had, and I just had a lot of challenges, just huge expectations, and still getting to know the playing group whilst also being the captain was challenging. So to get through that season, to be able to contribute and do some stuff was something I was pleased with.
Going back to Perth and playing West Coast for the first time must have been tricky, but you had a funny on-field moment with Brett Jones, your former premiership teammate.
Yeah, I was playing with Adam Selwood, and I think most people have heard the story now, but just Brett Jones ran past and told Adam to get into my shoulders, and I just said, well, the reason my shoulders are so stuffed is from carrying you nuffies for the last 8 years. Which sounds a bit arrogant when you mention it now, a cool light of day, but it was, not a bad line at the time. Good.
Some incidents at your time at Carlton. Obviously, there was one with Stevie Baker back at West Coast too at Subi, but the pressure point up at the Gabba with Michael Riscatelli. How do you feel about that? Looking on, seeing it was a while ago now.
Yeah, look, that was a good one. That was a stupid incident on the field, and the biggest level of stupidity came the next day when that was the last game of the year, and we'd had a monster night, and our media manager thought it'd be a good idea if I fronted the media and talk, and after 20 stubbies and half an hour's sleep, that's not usually a good time to do press conferences. And they said, what do you think about the Riscatelli thing? And I said, it's a pressure point, And the pressure point to me was at school where you'd go like on the hand and pressure point or whatever. But it turned out it's some sort of a jiu-jitsu move that's quite a serious issue. So, look, that was stupid. The only incident I really regret was the Lee Adams chicken wing. And again, it wasn't like it was pre-motivated. It started off as me just trying to preclude him from handling the ball, and by the time I finished with it, his shoulder was in a precarious position. So that's the only one that I felt really bad about. And made sure I got in contact with him and let him know what my intentions were, and he was fine with it. But the other ones were just a bit of stupidity. I mean, Campbell Brown carries on like I assaulted him with a with a rifle. Don't coincide with him, but he just loves carrying on, can we run?
What about the famous boozy boat trip? You were captain at that stage. Is that a big regret too in your time at Carlton?
No, it's not a big regret, but it was stupid. But there's also a bit of a fine line there, and I copped a lot of criticism, and that's fair enough as captain. You probably don't need to be encouraging blokes to get absolutely legless. But also, the players that got in trouble, it was at 4 o'clock and 1 o'clock and I think 11 o'clock was the other one. So, most of the people from that boat cruise were at home by 9 or 10 o'clock, including myself. There's only so much responsibility you can take for grown adults when you're not with them. And, a lot of the time in society, we don't hold people to account. It's always someone else's fault. And then that was a bit how I felt. It was most of the guys had made a really conscious effort not to drink throughout that period of pre-season. So we had 2 months where most folks haven't had a single drink. So to tee up a drinking session, starting at midday, where there's a lot of drinking, probably wasn't the smartest move, and I have to put my hand up for that, but also conscious I can't be responsible for what people do when I'm not around and they're grown men.
Your son Oscar was born in 2011 and that changed the whole outlook on footy, I guess.
Yeah, it did. I mean, not just footy, life in general, so that was really special, the same as it is for any parent, but just to have something, for me, I guess in the context of footy, to have something there that completely dwarf the importance of footy was really refreshing, because at that stage of my career I've been pretty obsessed about footy for a long time, and it felt like a nice counterbalance to have something now that was far more important.
And I'm going to touch on it before we move on. The father-son rule. Well, he loves his footy, you said, over Brecky. Where's he going to go?
He loves Nick Nat, so if Nick Nat's still playing in 14 years' time, I think he'll be pushing to try and get over the West. But I think he'll probably end up at Carlton if he goes down that path. But I think Billy's probably the one to look out for. She's mad as a cut snake. I think she's probably got more of the footballing ability.
You played 5 seasons under Brent Ratton at Carlton. How was your relationship with him?
The relationship with Wrest was really good. We got along well. He taught me a lot about getting a bit more balance in my game, getting some inside ball and outside ball. But I just think with Rats, he just probably got the job a bit too early. So usually you see the coaches that work, they do quite a long apprenticeship, but it's not just the time of the apprenticeship, it's the systems they've been in. So Clarkson was in a premiership system at Port Adelaide. Adam Simpson, who's been wildly successful in 2 years there, was in a premiership system in Hobart, almost to a T. They've had exposure to really elite coaching systems. And when Rat's got the job, he had a year at Melbourne, I think, in what wasn't an elite coaching system, and had a year under Dennis Pagan in what was an elite coaching system. So if he had got the job now, after he'd had 3 or 4 years under Clarkson, I think he'd still be coaching today. But not being able to get that IP from other clubs just makes it a very hard journey as a senior coach.
Mick was appointed, obviously, when Brent Ratton was stood down or sacked. Were you involved in that process? And if not, were you pleased with the decision to bring Mick over?
Yeah, I was really excited to have someone with a lot of experience and obviously a premiership coach. And no, I wasn't involved in that process. I sort of went out. The end of Rats as coach was sort of the end of my tenure as captain too. I felt we both had a good crack at trying to achieve something at Carlton, and we weren't able to get there, so I thought it was the right time for me to hand the reins over to someone else, which obviously ended up being Murph. But yeah, look, when I look at the big years, I think what that really speaks of is just a club that everyone at the club openly acknowledges has a long way to go. And if you just drop one person in there and think they're going to be able to fix all the warts, they're not. There's a lag time in footy between a good decision and an outcome, and it's probably 3 to 4 years. And if you look at who we drafted in the last 5 years and who's contributed, I think there's barely anyone even on the list. So it doesn't matter who you put into coach a side like that. If you're not getting improvement from guys in that 20 to 23 odd age bracket, if you're at Fremantle, that's your Fifes, Hills, Lockie Eels, and that's where your improvement comes from. Guys over 25 are usually maintaining. Guys 18 or 19 usually aren't good enough to contribute much. It's guys that are in that 20 to 24 age bracket is where your improvement comes from, and that's just a graveyard at Carlton. So we've got a list manager now, and that should help that going forward. And that's not the only thing that needs to improve. Everything throughout the club needs to get better. But I think gone are the days where we just think one person, either a senior coach or Paddy Cripps or whomever, is not going to fix Carlton. It's going to be a collective effort from everyone from the board down to the boot starter. And if everyone takes responsibility and ownership over where the club needs to go, then we'll be a good chance to move up the ladder.
A couple more, we pushed for time, but Mick Malthouse, we know what happened to him at the start of the year. Did he end up losing the players?
I don't think he lost the players, but I think players were certainly starting to play really tight under him. I think that there were a small number of players who were intimidated by Nick because he was a really imposing figure, and then I think there were another group of players who sort of felt like every mistake they made on the field was bringing forward Mick's execution, which I guess it was. His metaphorical execution, not his actual execution, Brent. And I think you saw when he did leave that there was a bit more freedom with the way the players played, and there was a bit more energy. So, look, I don't know that he lost the players, but I think when he did leave, it felt like a pressure valve had been released for a lot of the group.
You battled injuries throughout your career, it's no secret, but you almost retired a couple of times, I think, but in the end it was decided for you when you did your knee against the Adelaide Crows.
Yeah, it was, and there were lots of emotions with that. There was obviously the disappointment that footy was over, but probably the main emotion that came with it was one of relief. And two parts: relief that I could just my body a rest, but relief that I didn't have to make that decision because the mind of an elite athlete is a funny thing. You spend so much of your life lying to yourself about how your body feels, but to just take that out of my hands was probably a good thing. By that stage, I was sleeping with sort of a bra contraption on with a little rope connected to my right arm so that my shoulder would dissipate in my sleep. And when you're doing those sorts of things, there's a few signs that it's probably time to find a new career. So I was relieved that I could get rid of the bra and get on with living.
And I guess the big thing you did post-retirement was help Carlton find a new coach, and that's our boy Brendan Bolton here from Tasmania. How's he going to go?
I think it's going to go well. And part of that reason is because he's not the only change that's been made to the club. We've got a list manager now, we've got a whole new fitness staff. We've got, developing a much stronger alignment with the Northern Blues and Carlton, and what that'll look like is you'll see assistant coaches at Northern Blues, which will, if they're good, will then be picked as assistant coaches at Carlton. That'll be a bit of a pathway for them. He's really clear on the type of assistant coaches he wants, so he wants assistants who coach their own teams, and I think just about exclusively that's what we've got now. So there's a whole host of changes, and he's obviously one of the figureheads to that. But I think it'll be really good. And seeing as I was part of the selection panel, I have to say that. But I think what he will do is he'll be a great teacher and a great developer of talent. And if I look at things Carlton have done over the 8 years that have worked and that other teams have then copied, I can't think of any. Unless you're innovating, unless you're creating something instead of just following things other clubs are doing, it's unlikely you're going to achieve success. So I think under Brendan, we will be quite innovative, and I'd expect to see some things we're doing in our football department which are new and ahead of the pack, and hopefully that'll hold us in good stead.
And just one more before we finish up, mate, the recent trade period, you think Carlton's done okay out of that?
Yeah, in totality, I think Carlton's done really well out of that. There were a couple of individual trades that I looked at and scratched my head a little bit. But when you look at what we got, particularly the way we got pick 8, was incredible. So look, I think they've done well. That's step one, and then we've obviously got to pick well, and that's almost the most important bit. So yeah, I think it looks pretty hopeful at this stage. But as I mentioned on the table, one thing about Carlton, which Carlton fans probably wouldn't realise, is that we pay more of our salary cap than Hawthorn, which is ridiculous. But being down the bottom of the ladder is quite inflationary, and if players don't want to stay, a lot of the time in the past we've ended up paying them more than what market rates are, and I think this year there was a clear decision that we're not going to do that anymore. If players don't want to stay, then they can move on. We'll get some young talent in, and by the time that young talent's ready to renegotiate a contract, hopefully the club's on a much better path and having some success, and that they want to stay for the right reasons, not just because they're getting paid overs. So I think that's the right long-term move for the club.
Well, mate, it's been a pleasure as a big Eagles supporter. It's been a thrill for me to sit here, and I'm sure everyone's really enjoyed listening to you being open and honest. Thanks very much for your time, and all the best for your retirement.
Thanks, Brent.
Lovely. Good day, everyone.